Hello, how's it going? Just gonna do another review. Kind of I wouldn't say a review because uh, these scents are a little bit out of my wheelhouse in general. Not usually into very, I would consider Areej Le Dore a more classic perfume style, and just, from my tastes and my collection and just kind of what I'm used to, definitely doesn't fit into that. But this is kind of like expanding my horizons and uh, my comfort zone and all of those things, right? That's kind of like what this whole uh, to me what this hobby is about, right? It's kind of like trying new things and just kind of seeing if you like it, if you don't, and then kind of revisiting it, kind of going back and forth, and that's all. It's all discovery. It's part of the fun. So I didn't obviously, well, not maybe not obviously, but I didn't get any of a full bottle of anything. I just got some samples that I have had a chance to kind of just explore and really kind of get what or try and understand, I guess, what the brand is about, because I do see a lot of praise for the company and for the perfumer's name is Russian Atom, and I was curious, right? So just like anything else, wanted to see what he had to offer. And overall, I think that the perfume that I've sampled, I have one other one that I haven't really gotten a chance to check out yet. But out of these four, I think that they're, like I said, very classic perfumery. So, um, if you are in any way looking for mainstream or something that is fresh and just kind of your typical what you'd find in stores in the malls and whatnot, this is not the company for you, just kind of like right off the bat, right? But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't smell them, you shouldn't check them out, because you might fall in love with them. You might say, hey, that reminds me of something, or that really like gives me an experience of what uh, you know just nostalgia, or something like that, for me. And I do have, you'll probably see me looking down a couple times because I've got some notes that I wrote down, just so I wouldn't forget, kind of what I wanted to talk about and what I kind of wanted to mention. But I think that the for me at least, it seems like the purpose behind these creations are the experience, right? That Russian Atom wants to transport you into what his idea of maybe what the perfume's supposed to convey, right? And so, as far as I can tell, for me, it was kind of a similar experience. Like that's kind of what I felt. Um, so let's start off with the first one, right? In no order either. So Siberian Summer. So kind of like what what imagery, right? What does that bring to mind when you hear that? For me, it's you know really dense forestry, and not necessarily snow covered because it's Siberian summer. I've never been to Russia, but I can imagine that it's kind of desolate and lonesome. You know, kind of just as raw as nature could be, right? Like there's not. I'd imagine that there's probably not much. It's not densely populated or anything like that. So when I smelled it, I kind of got this immediate campfire, smoldering ash vibe immediately, right? I don't know if that was just like placebo or whatever, because it's called, like Siberian Summer. That's kind of what I was thinking, but that's what I thought of. And then you get this fir notes in there, birch, and very woodsy, and you get all of that kind of and as the fragrance continues throughout its life, you'll get a little bit more resins that come in there, and that smoke kind of plays into a little bit of an incense. I don't know. I don't think it's a listed note, but it's very, very reminiscent of camping for me. And just kind of mountain air, and like once it starts to kind of dry down, it's, to me, it kind of got almost like dewy, right? I don't know if that makes any sense, but it did, for me, give me that experience of forestry and woods and camping and all of that. So it was this one and Plumeria de Orris were my two favorites. So I really enjoyed that. But I'm also a sucker for like the notes of birch and fir and like all those woodsy notes. So it's already up my alley. I enjoyed it. Definitely, like I said, probably my favorite out of the four. And let's go on to, so like, to kind of sum it up, if you're, I mean, I don't know, all of these are crazy longevity, crazy projection, in my opinion, and you don't, like, these are, I think, like 1 mil or maybe 1.5 mil vials. I barely just put the dabber on there and just swivel it around, a couple dabs in there, and that's really all you need. You can smell it. I don't, I would assume that it's heavy on the naturals is my guess. Considering it's like small batch stuff as far as I know. So yeah, I mean, like, definitely. I don't know how much they go for. I've seen them secondhand in around the $200 range. Ranging from $160 to $200 depending on what it was. So, but they're 50 mils, so that's it's expensive stuff, but you obviously don't need a lot. So that's that's a nice thing. So let's go on to the next one, Antiquity. Okay, so right away I got a sweetness from it that was shocking, because I didn't, and when I heard Antiquity, I thought, old, dusty, I don't know, just not what I was thinking. I didn't think I was going to get any hint of sweetness in this perfume at all, but I did. And then I looked up the notes, and sure enough, it was peach. So that's the note. And then, of course, like, once you see it, I don't know if you experience this, but once I see a note, I'm like, and then I can pick it out. But I didn't know what the sweetness was coming from. It reminded me of, I used to go to a candy shop that was like a neighborhood candy shop down the street from where I went to elementary school, and I would go there every once, maybe like once a month or so, and it was called the Sweet Life, I believe, and it took me back there like immediately, and it was incredible, because I hadn't thought about that place since I can't even remember, but it took me back there, and I just got this another experience, right? So that's why I'm saying this theme of these perfumes is not just to smell good, right? Because you can get that with anything, but it's rare, I find, that a fragrance can really transport you, right? And I shouldn't say rare, but it's more often than not that you just kind of smell something and you're like, oh, that smells good, but it doesn't really conjure up any kind of emotion or any kind of feelings. But that's, both of these, all of these have really done that, but more so the Siberian Summer and Antiquity, just for me personally. So, but anyway, to keep it moving, so I picked up like floral notes, and again, I don't know what's listed. I'm not an expert, like I've said before, by any means, but maybe it was like a jasmine in there. I'm not sure, but that candy note was from the peach apparently, and it's nice, and it like through the mid and into the dry down, it does get like this kind of silky texture and a smoothness to it, right? It's like, it almost like feels soft, like if you could picture that, right, from a fragrance. It just felt like enveloping and soft, and like if you were, you know, like silky smooth, right? And then, you know, like the Antiquity, War and Peace, and Plumeria de Orris all have these musk, I think maybe even Siberian Summer, but I got this, it seemed like a characteristic of Areej Le Dore is this musk note that is maybe his DNA, right? Like that's like a popular base that he uses. And so I smelled it, and then when I smelled the others, I could smell it in there too. A little bit different, a little bit of variation, but it's still there. It's kind of like, you know that it's like the perfumer's signature, basically. So you get that kind of little bit animalic on this one, but not as much the others. The other two that I'm going to talk about. When you get this soapy, more of a clean musk on this. Excuse me. So, you know, that's Antiquity. All right. Very cool. Very nice. That one I wouldn't wear, just personally. I mean, it's cool. I have a little sample of it, but that one, not for me as far as going out and wearing it or anything like that. Maybe I'm just sitting at home like now and just kind of like wanted that experience. I'll put it on or whatever. So next one, War and Peace. So this one is, I got some citrus, which I really don't think is in there. I don't know, but and floral notes on the top, and that same musk hits a little bit earlier. It's I can smell it right from the get-go, and I don't know if that's because I smelled Antiquity before this, and I kind of, that was the first one that I experienced, and then I smelled these later on, so I kind of knew what I was, or I kind of had an idea of what to expect. And so, where is it? Oh, yeah. So this one, War and Peace, it smells. So I've worked in a bike shop before, and like bicycles, and you know, been around cars and stuff like that. And this gave me the just like old grease machine shop kind of, almost that, but with an animalic note, which I know this one, these two I do know because I wanted to know what it was. Castoreum and civet are in here, and you do get this, like if you haven't showered in like all day or in a day or something, and then you kind of get that. I know it's probably gross, but that kind of greasy smell, right, on your clothes. That's what this smells like. So it obviously probably sounds a bit off-putting, but that's another experience, right? So that's what I think of, or that's what I thought of, and that's what I imagined and pictured and everything when I smell this. And so, you know, a common theme, experience, right? So you do get the herbal, or maybe not herbal, but green oak moss coming out a little bit towards the end, and maybe, I don't know, if spice is the right word, but perhaps a spiciness to it, and the floral in there is rose, right? So you do get that kind of throughout the fragrance. It's there, it peeks in and out, and that's another thing that I kind of didn't mention on the others. These notes don't just sit around, right? Like they kind of go away and they come back. They peek through, back and forth and back and forth, and it's nice. You know, it's a cool thing when you kind of like move around or waft around and you catch a whiff of something, and it's it's a certain note, and you're like, oh yeah, it's in there, or whatever it is. So needless to say, great sillage as well. So that's, War and Peace. Again, this one, not really my style as far as wearing out, but another unique scent. Plumeria de Orris. So this one was, kind of a turn. This one, if I had to say, okay, so Siberian Summer on the spectrum, most masculine leaning. Antiquity, War and Peace, little bit leaning towards masculinity, that kind of like classic masculine side, but still, I think, either uh, women or men, pretty unisex. Plumeria de Orris, kind of the opposite, the opposing one from Siberian Summer. So it's a little bit more feminine leaning, and that's because obviously the Orris, right, it's going to be a little bit more floral, and which it was. And it kind of smells like, and this is not to say like it's kind of like smell like generic or anything, but to me, reminding of kind of like Irish Spring, right? And I don't know. I looked up the floral note in there, and it's frangipani. And as far as I know, I have not smelled it before, but it smelled familiar. So clearly, smelled it somewhere. And the closest thing I could relate it to is Irish Spring, or like soap. Maybe not Irish Spring, but a bar of soap, right? Which is obviously doesn't smell bad. But it was weird because it had this like twinge of like mildewy clothes, and again, doesn't sound appealing, but it's the civet, I'm guessing, is what did it, right? It gives it that kind of funkiness, right? And nothing that was like, oh my god, that smells like awful. Like I've smelled Frederick Mall's The Night. Now that oud, holy cow, that's like barnyard fecal, like boom to the nose. No messing around. You smell like a zoo animal, straight up. I mean, that's some stank. These aren't like that. This is a lot more subtle. It's kind of almost only if you're looking for it, right? And really, I didn't really pick any of that up in the sillage, or kind of like moving around. It's when you kind of smell it up close, is that when you get that a little bit of animalic in there. But that, for the most part, kind of subsided. The florals and that sweetness. There's an apricot in there that kind of just it sticks around, and from the mid to the dry down, it stays with that more soapiness aspect to it. And what else did I put on here? It's got a little bit of amber in there, and I think vanilla, so that's kind of where that sweetness is also coming from, I believe. So that's kind of where this fragrance tends to kind of ride out the rest of its life. And this one would not be one that I wear, but I did. I would, maybe I might wear it. But I did like this one just because it was something different. This was the most different to me out of them. It just was a lot, like I said, a little bit more feminine, so a different take from what I'd smelled. And I guess to wrap it all up, hats off to Russian Atom, and kind of being able to transport me and take me into different nostalgic moments, and kind of like conjure up some imagery, and all of those things. But would I buy a full bottle of any of these at this point in time? No. But would I recommend everyone to smell them? Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's nice. It's something completely different from the mainstream, and that it's good to push the boundaries, especially if you're not kind of experienced with perfumery, or if you're getting into the hobby and you want to check something out that's gonna give you an experience. And certainly all of these did. I can't say enough about that. That's really what stood out to me overall, more than the scent, more than the performance, more than the hype of the brand or anything like that. It did provide me with that experience, which is it's pretty cool, pretty unique. And let me know what you think. Have you smelled any of these? Do you want to smell them, dude? Any feedback. Again, like I kind of always say at the end of these videos, or I'm trying to, I kind of want to make this an interactive experience. It's not just all about kind of like what I want to review. Appreciate you tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.